Hey everybody, what's up? I am Dr. Nick Myers with another public sexual announcement for you for March the 30th, 2022. And I want to bring back a topic that I have not spoken about in a long time, and that's the orgasm gap. But this time, I really want to come at it from a different angle and talk to you about closing the orgasm gap, okay? But first, many of you don't even know what I'm talking about. So your question probably is, wait a second, what is the orgasm gap? Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. So what is the orgasm gap? Well, generally speaking, it's the difference in frequency of orgasm when compared to men and women during heterosexual sexual activity. So what I mean by that, basically, is that men are having a lot more orgasms than women when they are engaged in two-partner sexual activity. And this is also backed up by research too, because one of the more popular research studies that was out there was published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior, and they studied 52,000 men and women. And what they found was that during two-partner heterosexual activity, 95% of men reported having an orgasm almost every time, whereas only 65% of females reported having an orgasm almost every time during heterosexual sexual activity. So therein lies the orgasm gap, 95% versus 65%. And one of the goals that I've always had since I started this podcast is to try to figure out a way how to close that gap. So in my opinion, all is not lost. It's just, for me, it feels like we are so close to actually closing the orgasm gap, but it's like we're just missing it. And for me, it came down to two reasons why. And the first one could be the lack of knowledge. And to be more specific, it could be the lack of knowledge when it comes to female anatomy. Because guys may not know what's going on down there. They may not know what's where. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repost a meme that's really popular. It's not mine, but I'm going to use it anyhow. It's the kiss, lick, suck meme that shows the image of a vulva with a clitoris and the vaginal opening. It's like you lick this, you suck this, you kiss this. People tend to respond really well to that. But wait, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to attach that image directly to this podcast so you can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, instead of me using the image of me drinking coffee, I'm going to put that image up there so you guys have a direct reference to what I'm talking about. So please like and share this image in this podcast before Facebook takes it down, because what I'm noticing more recently is that they are getting really good at taking down anything that's sort of sexual and that's related to sexuality education, because they really seem to be against education at the moment. But yeah, I'm going to do that. So that will help to increase your knowledge about the female anatomy. And that's just a general guide. It's just a quick picture, but you have to talk to your partner about what they actually like. And I'm going to get into that right now. And number two, the second reason I believe the orgasm gap is still around and still persisting is that the men are giving the women the wrong type of sexual stimulation, or the incorrect type of sexual stimulation. Whereas like the men are doing something, but it's not really working for the women, so they're not having orgasms. So even though men are supposed to know everything about sex and sexuality, they really don't. But one thing you can do is communicate with your partner. And what I mean by that is simply ask them what they like. Because the problem is this: you could be doing this, but the reality is they want that. And that will actually give them more pleasure, and it will increase the likelihood of them having an orgasm. So yeah, just two simple questions. Ask them where they like to be touched, and then ask them how they like to be touched. So that will get that conversation started, so you can try it and see and let them guide you, fellas, on the best way to give them sexual pleasure. And then after that, the fun can really start. So what I meant by that statement is that after she starts having more consistent and constant orgasms, you can start to talk to her about having multiple orgasms. So what I meant by that is most women do not know that they are able to have more than one. And for some women, one orgasm is just fine. It's always good to start with one because if she's not having any, it's kind of tough to get to multiple. But then after she gets to one, then maybe she had the two, and then 3 and 4 or 5. Because what most women don't know, when they have their first orgasm, they pretty much stay up there in that orgasmic state. They don't have a refractory period like we do, fellas. So they can keep having orgasms back to back to back to back. And if you really want to close that orgasm gap, so that's a mindset that you may want to start to think about, fellas. Many women don't know this, but they can actually have multiple orgasms. So if you really want to help me close the orgasm gap, these are just some things that you may want to think about. So on that note, I'm out. You guys have a great day. Stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon.